Powerful collaborations, cutting-edge science, and curious minds coming together for a glimpse of the future. Stay tuned as we look at the latest updates on some of the most promising technology projects. Hello and welcome. I'm Peter Ballant from Technicon, and today we take a diverse look at the SPARTA project. In our SPARTA series, we have spoken with many key people who are making it happen, and today we continue that trend. SPARTA is a European project whose goal is to reinvent how cybersecurity is done in Europe. We had the opportunity to be on site at the SPARTA kickoff meeting in the beginning of 2019. First up, we speak with Ralf Lindner from Fraunhofer in Germany. His team is heading up the part of the SPARTA project called Responsible Innovation. This means they ensure that ethical, legal, and societal aspects in SPARTA are carried out in a responsible way. Welcome, and the first question is, I'm curious, did you find SPARTA or did SPARTA find you?
Actually, we were in the nice position that the SPARTA coordinators approached us at a certain point in the proposal development phase and invited us to join forces here. And I think the background is that part of the original call for this project included a couple of buzzwords. For instance, the buzzword responsible research and innovation, which is strongly promoted within Horizon 2020 by the European Commission, and we have a track record in that field. So we've been involved in a couple of projects in that area, trying to develop approaches to bring responsible research and innovation into the research and innovation systems. And I think that was probably the hook that the coordinators of SPARTA kind of saw and invited us.
Okay, and I understand there's over 40 partners in this project, which is very large. How does this work with your work, your daily work on the project, or do you have milestones, or do you have expectations, and do you talk to partners often, or just perhaps once a month for a check-in?
Excellent question, and I think that all these points you just mentioned are the things we need to tackle quite soon. I personally was never involved in such a large consortium with over 40 partners. I think the largest one was like 22, and that already is quite a challenge. So I think the first step for us now, and I think we can use the kickoff for the project to get to know the partners we will be directly involved in our work packages. And just to find out who are those people and what are the expectations on both sides and develop a common understanding. I think that's the first step. And in terms of how we will organize ourselves, manage the work throughout the 3 years of the project, that's going to be something we'll have to probably negotiate with the partners. For instance, does it make sense to have monthly calls just to exchange the state of play and coordinate next steps, things like that. I think we'll have to make decisions on these things. It's not decided yet.
Is it too early to ask you personally what does success look like for you?
I mean, in very, very general terms, I could imagine that at the end of the 3 years, if we do succeed in in raising awareness particularly on the side of the technology developers in terms of broadening their perspectives when they start developing technology, when they're developing solutions in the cybersecurity field, in terms of did you take into account certain ethical aspects? Did you take into account certain gender aspects, for instance? And when we talk about gender aspects, it's not just about we're not just about counting heads. It's also that we know from many innovation processes that gender also induces very different types of usage and usage patterns, and this might also be something to be taken into account when these technologies are being developed. And so I would argue if there is the success might be in the sense that the perspectives are broadened, more societal values are actively taken into account when we develop technologies.
Are you building something? Are you making something? After 36 months, what will you have?
Like in our the role we have, we won't build anything concretely. There won't be a certain piece of software or something like that. But I might say that we are building additional awareness. At least that's the goal. We'll see how successful that will be. Part of our work is also about developing a better understanding of how these pan-European large research activities can be better organized, better governed. I think that still remains a challenge for the European research area to come up with mechanisms and types of governance for these large undertakings. How can we approve these huge activities with so many partners from so very different backgrounds and countries? And I think there's still a lot to learn on how to set up these and organize these activities. And I would hope that we will be able to tell something to the European Commission in terms of what can be done in the future, how to improve these activities.
Well, I'm sure you'll have plenty to tell the EU after 3 years. In the meantime, we wish you continued success in your endeavors in SPARTA.
Okay, thank you.
And now we move on to Elisabete Carreira from INOV in Portugal. INOV will address gender and diversity aspects as well as auditing implementation within SPARTA. Welcome, and tell us a little bit more about what you'll be doing for SPARTA.
My role in this project will be to focus on the gender and diversity issue. Why? Because SPARTA is really committed to bring to the project this aspect, the gender and the diversity dimension. Because at the end of the day, it's about people.
What will you do to aid these gender and diversity issues?
What we are going to try in the workshop, we will take advantage of the workshop to see if the response of the female, of the male is different, for example. And there is some ways to get there. And about the diversity, perhaps the message has to be tailored differently. Okay? For example, the citizen will be reacting differently in the threat. Some aspects are going to be studied, and these issues will be then taken into account in the programs.
So this could be a chance to kind of make an impact on the whole.
Yes, we want to maximize the impact of SPARTA with this special activities that we'll have. And when you look at the workforce in the cybersecurity, only 12% are female, and one of those 12% are in the executive functions. So we want to reduce that gap. Okay.
And the question on everybody's mind is, why is that only 12%? I mean, did something break down in the system here, or do we have to just go back and start thinking about this and perhaps training and encouraging students?
Yes, and the curricula that we will develop. There is a problem in our society from the playground because we have the princess syndrome, and we have to fight with this syndrome because the female we are different, but it's a nice complement. So we have to have them with us. And look at, for example, in Portugal, in the university, in the mathematics at the mathematics level, we have a lot of women. So we know that they are capable of some achievements in the cybersecurity world. We don't have any doubt about that. But We have just to bring them in.
And that's your job?
Yes, and to try to influence positively to get, for example, studies in these domains. Okay, and the message has to be tailored for that.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add about your part in this project?
Well, I'm very excited with the project. So I hope that in the 3 years we will be here, and I hope to have some nice result to present to you at that time.
Well, that's good to hear, and we would like to wish you much success on this really cool aspect of the project, which I think unfortunately is not thought about very often, but with efforts like yours, we can ensure that more and more people become aware of these issues and that these issues are being addressed. So thank you for your efforts and much success in the project.
Thank you so much.
Now we speak with Fabio Martinelli from CNR in Italy. CNR is managing clustering, platforms, and ecosystems activities within SPARTA. Tell us what that means. What will you be doing in SPARTA?
In the project, I act as a partnership director that is basically in charge of collecting, pulling together the community, the infrastructure, to achieve the goals, the challenging goals that the project must reach.
Okay, and so from your standpoint, what you mentioned challenging goals. What challenges would you have in your position in organizing on this level?
Well, Benny, first of all, this is a 44 partners, core partners project, so this is already very peculiar for European projects. Then we need to build a community, and so we have the concept of SPARTA associates. That means people that somehow have some sort of relationship with the project and can contribute to the several aspects that we want to cover, as for instance the SPARTA roadmap, the SPARTA infrastructures, and the partnership. So basically we must already be in touch with near 100 people and ensure that they provide the comment for the roadmap, that they contribute to all the platforms that we are going to have, and they are active participants to this. We are a competence center with a community, and the partnership is in charge of making this community work together and exploit synergies. Not just 1 + 1 is 1 or 2, it should be 4 or 5. So we need to exploit synergies among the partners.
So is it fair to say that you're less of a technical role, more of a people role?
It's both. Partnership is people, so I need to coordinate people with and having them to contribute. So one of the interesting concepts that we have is the SPARTA workshops. Each month you must have in one country, European country in the project, a SPARTA workshop where people explain the SPARTA project and get insights from the local community, from the local clusters about their wishes, about the roadmap, how they can contribute, how they can use the platforms, and they can interact with SPARTA in a bi-directional way.
Is this considered a larger project in the whole scheme of things?
Well, I mean, this is the largest process where I've been involved, and I've been involved in more than 30 European projects. I coordinated 4 of them, and by far this is the largest. I was aware of one project with 75 partners in the past, the grid area, but we are speaking about 10 years ago, and very peculiar project. So I think this will be extremely challenging for the project coordinator. They did a great job till now, and I'm sure they will do in the future, but this is one of the most challenging projects from the coordination point of view that I'm aware of.
Is there anything about your part in the project that I haven't mentioned that you wanted to bring up?
No, I think you said. I think it's putting people together, putting the infrastructure together, imagining way to find fruitful synergies and to integrate the existing platforms and to have a dialogue and stimulate the dialogue among all the partners and help them to find the benefits in these networking activities. That is part of my, let's say, long-lasting tradition. The first European working group I created was in 2004 and was one of the first to put together security and trust people in industry and research. So I think this is continuation of my, let's say, activities that I've done in the last 15 years.
Okay. Well, you have a big job in this project, and we want to wish you much success. and we'll check in from time to time to see how it's going. But good luck with everything.
Thank you very much for the interview, and good luck to Sparta.
Thank you. And finally today we speak with Gabi Dreo from Code in Germany. She is the coordinator of the EU project Concordia. Concordia, like Sparta, is a part of a major European-wide effort to accelerate cybersecurity research by drawing together leading experts across domains. Welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself and Concordia and how you are connecting with Sparta.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm the executive director of the Research Institute Code, stands for Cyber Defense. It is a central institute at the Bundeswehr University Munich. And I'm the coordinator of Concordia. Concordia is one of the 4 pilots, and the task or the most important objectives are certainly how the end-to-end data-driven approach. We saw everything from IoT, network, device-oriented security, system application-oriented security, and user-centric security. And we built in the pilots 2 cross-sector pilots, which is threat intelligence for Europe, DDoS protection for Europe, and we have also 5 sector-specific pilots dealing with, for example, threat intelligence for the telco sector, finance sector, and so on. So the points are concentrating excellent research, building agile governance model to get other participants inside, building an ecosystem for education with the European Institute of Technology, building these pilots, and of course making it open or support not just women in cybersecurity, but also startups, make open calls to attract such new ideas and also to support it.
And with Sparta, are you a partner, a project partner?
No, as a coordinator of Concordia, I also talk, of course, to the coordinator of Sparta, Florent. And the point is how we can combine, integrate, cooperate these 2 projects. Firstly, and of course also then the other 2, like ECHO and CyberSec for Europe. And now we are discussing how to figure out what are the strengths for from both projects, from both consortiums, what are the synergies, what can we do together, what is complementary, to really identify the best for the 2 projects.
And do you feel like the data privacy protection laws that recently passed here in Europe help to prove that Europe is not playing around anymore? They're serious, they want to be leaders in this business?
I think GDPR for Europe was a really good stuff. It is a world standard. For example, Tim Cook says that he wants to have GDPR in the US. And I think there Europe made really a good step forward. The point is we have to be fast in other areas as well. So I think GDPR was really a good point, a world standard, and but we have to invest a lot. Europe has to invest a lot to play a role even then in the next years in cybersecurity and technology development.
And for you, what does success look like at the end of 3 years? How do you know if you've done a good job?
Well, each pilot has KPIs that defines what we can measure, smart objectives. But I think it's much more important to see that we establish trust between the pilots, that we really work together, that we combine sources, that it's not so fragmented as current it is, and that we really make progress in terms of developing IT products, IT services made in Europe. And I think this is the real measure, what I would hope that we will really achieve.
So at the end of 3 years, the project really doesn't end, does it? Because you've put into place certain measures and certain practices that intend to go on, or this is the goal. These practices become standards. So the project, in a way, lives on after the 3 years.
Absolutely. This is just the first step, I would say. It's the initial step, really, to run this big engine during Europe, and it has to. If we are successful, it will continue really fast on all 4 pilots ending in this European Cybersecurity Center. And this is also the objectives we have to achieve.
And how was the kickoff meeting today?
Great. I enjoyed very much because to learn the consortium, to see what the ideas are, and I hope that the next meeting we will have, then we will also go in the working area and really work together.
Okay.
So I enjoyed very much.
Good. And is there anything that I've overlooked that you want to say about your roles here?
I think that it's only one message, that we have to be successful. Otherwise, we have a problem that Europe will fall behind US and China. And so these 4 projects are a good step. The 4 coordinators and the 4 consortium have to prove how really they can work together and to bring Europe a big step further.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you success in your future endeavors. And we'll check in from time to time to see what's happening.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of Technicon, I would like to say thank you to all of our guests for taking the time to share their impressions about SPARTA. There's much more information on the SPARTA website, which is sparta.eu. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to stay current with SPARTA and many other European Union projects. This podcast has been brought to you by Technicon. This project has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program under Grant Agreement number 830892.